Well, no girls.
Oh, yeah.
Got room?
Yeah.
Maybe she'll bring the good ones.
So is it rude to find the game and live stream it so I can watch it?
Actually, we've got a projector in here.
Hey, I'm fine if we're out of here by 7:50.
So you're the home?
Yeah, we gotta be on record. We gotta be on record, yeah.
It's 4 hour meetings.
What was the shortest meeting we ever had? Was it like 20-some minutes?
Our special meeting was 17 minutes last week.
I'm talking about regular
But that's
meeting.
cheating.
That's cheating. I'm talking about regular
You
meeting.
guys done that when I wasn't here.
I think we had like a 20-some minute meeting one time.
Single A.
I was like, holy Toledo, that was the quickest we ever did.
I think. Something it's funny watching you coach. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
There's 3 slots.
Call the meeting to order, the regular city council meeting, January 16th, 2018 at 7 o'clock. First off, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting this evening. Glad you're here. Ray, if you'd offer us a blessing this evening.
Let's pray. Father God, we come into your presence now as city council and representatives, those who are interested in the welfare of the city. We pray, Lord, that as these men discuss and come to conclusions about situations that they will be faced with, that they would be doing so in accordance with your perfect will. We thank you for them. Thank you for their willingness to serve and to give their time and efforts to represent us. For it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ray. And are there any additions to the agenda this evening? Okay. Any citizens' comments this evening?
Well, I was going to rent this house down here for 714 North Nutty, and I put a hookup fee for $125, and I didn't understand that you don't get that money back. And I didn't move in that house because there was gas leaks, and he didn't fix that window, which anybody could take a pry bar or whatever, break in your house, and there was no door in the bathroom, but what concerned me the most was the gas leaks. I even took a soapy bottle of water, you know, and I could find where the leaks were coming from.
I do understand that you didn't get to move in, but when you fill out this application, it said on the very bottom here that the connection fee is $250 and it's non-refundable. That's the new ordinance that we just passed. That it's not a refundable.
So there's nothing that you can do.
It's really up to you guys.
When that was passed?
Yeah, about a month ago.
Yeah, okay, 'cause the date
Do
she
I have to
signed
come
is
up
the
with that other
20th of December.
$125 then?
No, if you're not there anymore and your service is terminated.
I never did really move in yet.
Right.
See, that night I paid the rent.
Right, but we went ahead and switched the utilities already, so that the other 125, you won't, like, you don't have to pay for it, but like the money that you already pay, I just don't know what you guys want to do.
She put her deposit down after the ordinance was passed, the non-refundable part?
Yes.
That had just recently been passed?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, let's see when that was actually passed.
had a little bit of understand. Have you moved into this house?
No,
Or
I haven't moved in.
You haven't moved in?
No,
You
because
had
my
the
car
utility-
went, see, I went and paid for electricity. The electricity was already on, but I just put it in my name. And then I had put down like I was gonna move in like the, what was it, the third, fourth, something like that. And then, I went back in there and my car failed me in the meantime. So I didn't have no way to get in there right away. And I didn't have much help moving. So, and then I went in there and I was gonna do a little bit of cleaning and I smelled gas right off the bat. Me and this other girl that I know, she smelled it before I did. And then we pinpointed where it was coming from. It was coming from the hot water heater and then the gas line. And we took all the, you know, spray bottle water, soapy water, and there was all kinds of leaks coming through there. I'm surprised anybody hasn't, you know, whoever.
Did you report it? Did you report it to the city?
I did.
Oh, okay, well, the city doesn't have anything to do with the gas, that's
No, we
right.
do not.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, really that leak there isn't anything that has to do with the city
Right.
at all. I mean, that's really not even Kansas Gas side of it. I mean, that's a
Right.
homeowner's,
He acted like, you know, well, you know, no big deal, you know, but I wasn't gonna get carbon monoxide.
mhm.
I can
My
understand your point, but
My thought to Pam was there any usage at all
Let me check.
on that account?
What was the address?
714 North Nutting. That's what I was wondering, how much, been just like overnight next day.
There was actually,
It was dated the 29th.
it was like 20 kilowatt usage.
So what you're saying is you're not gonna rent that house?
No.
And you
And
would
he
like
knows it,
the
he's already given
utilities?
me my rent back and my deposit back.
So it-
You would just like your deposit back from the city is what you're saying?
Yes. If that's what you call it, I guess it's just a connection fee.
It's like $1.78.
So there was $1.78 worth of usage on that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's really up to the council, since the customer didn't move in.
Have you found another house here in St.
No,
John?
not yet,
that
because
you-
I had to get me another car first,
Mhm.
so.
I mean, she's used $1.78. I mean, I'd like for you to, I think it'd be nice to have you stick around town and find a place where you can put a deposit down and,
And that would go towards that?
I don't see why we couldn't do that for
Yeah.
them.
I
I'd
mean,
like
I
to-
would be fine with
That,
that.
that would be okay.
Let it
We would just
transfer.
hold on to the money until you found a place and, when and if.
Okay.
And then when you do, we could just
Well, it'd
apply
probably
that.
be, not the, well, the first of this month, because I gotta come up with the rest of the money for my car that I just got. And, but probably March, first, but I gotta find one first. And I understand they have a list somewhere that the landlords have, the
It's
landlords'
available on
names
our
are on there.
website, yeah. And if you walk out the door, it's over there too.
Okay,
well, I think what would be fair would be to, when you do find another place, I think it'd be fair, no more than what you used to use that amount that you deposited to put it towards the next place, but I think we hold on to the money.
okay, that'd be fair
I
with
mean,
me.
that's, does that,
I'm fine with transferring it.
Consensus.
I don't have a problem with that.
Allow
That'd be okay.
city hold on to it, and when she finds another place, we can transfer that first half of the $250 deposit
Right.
onto that
That
next
way I just have
residence.
to come up with 125.
I think for something like this, we need a motion.
I'd entertain a motion.
put it in motion to hold on to the deposit and put it towards her next place.
So take it from the 714, okay?
Yep.
Second.
A motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 4-0, 1 abstain.
Well, I didn't get completely turned down.
Just a series of unfortunate occurrences for you is all,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna fault you for that.
Okay, are there any other citizens' comments? Right?
I'd just like to welcome the new members on the council and the new mayor. As a citizen, I look forward to what y'all are gonna be doing, and do appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Are there any other comments? Okay,
Agendas.
and we'll move on to the consent agenda to approve minutes of the regular council meeting January 2nd, 2018, and the special council meeting January 9th, 2018. Also, the appropriation ordinance 1-16-18 in the amount of $108,121.35.
In your appropriation ordinance, you have items 760, 762, and 762, totaling almost $1,800 for ammunition, short-range rifle target, spinner. We're spending $1,800 for 9mm stuff.
Is that for you, that's for you, right, Adam? I mean, how long does that last you?
That should last us most of a year for all our training. What the targets are for is for advanced firearms training out at the range, and that was money that we had left in our training budget from last year. So that was essentially what it was is line items that were spent at the end of the year.
How much ammo are you burning a year?
How many rounds
I
was
mean,
that?
that's a lot of ammo. You
That
buy a
was
lot of
just
ammo
a
for
little over
$1,800.
Well, we didn't spend $1,800 on ammo.
Okay,
There was
you got
less
targets,
$600.
There was less than $600 in
on
ammunition.
ammo, and
I'm sorry?
I said, that's still a lot of money. I think. Maybe the rest of the council doesn't think it's a lot of money, but
Well, that's, like I said, that was, you remember how many rounds, 9mm?
There was 1,300 grams.
It's 1,300 rounds. We qualify on average 2 to 3 times a year. That is 200 rounds minimum per officer, so that's 800 rounds. And then the other training we do with our night shoot and just basic firearms training. I mean, I know it probably sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's pretty average, if not pretty low, for most departments.
okay.
Any more discussion? I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second on the table. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1 abstain.
May I go? Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And moving on to department head and committee reports. Lisa Cornwell, not here. And Adam.
Okay, the first thing I got for you this evening is regarding the information you guys asked me to provide you from last meeting regarding the on-call time. I drafted a letter and then put some examples of past time sheets and pay stubs in your packets.
Sure didn't make much sense to me.
Do what?
Sure didn't make much sense to me how it was done before.
To be honest, like I said, I dug back as far as I could, and of course not having access to the other guys' pay stubs and stuff like that, I really wasn't able to compare any of theirs.
Right.
And that's why, like I said, really, I mean, the only difference between our on-call time and the other city employees' on-call time is that We're not able to leave city limits or anything like that, just obviously due to the nature of what we do and the amount of response time we need to have. So I see no problem with our on-call time being, I guess, policy-wide for all the employees. We don't have a problem with that.
What do we do for?
For my guys?
Yeah.
My guys are, they get $80, $40 on Saturday, 40 on Sunday, and then plus their call-out time, which consists of well checking and the plant checking once a day. So they get 2 hours basically on the weekends, and then any on call time they get after that. So
Jeff, is that written down anywhere?
I'm sure it is. We changed it a few years ago. It was based on the wages. Everybody got 4 hours is what they got, and at that time they felt like it was unfair because the difference in the wages. Some guys were getting more on a weekend than others, so they based that. They brought it down to being just $80 on call for anybody, or 40 a day, $30 on a holiday.
I mean, as far as responsibilities, restrictions, do you guys, do they
We have 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes, yeah.
I talked to Adam about this briefly last week, and Jamie earlier this week, where as a handbook is being redeveloped, this stuff needs to be put in the handbooks. There's no question about restrictions, and then police department may have different restrictions than Jeff's guys. I don't know, but you don't want somebody drinking when they're not supposed to be drinking. You don't understand they're not supposed to be drinking, that kind of thing.
Can you not rotate schedules where you have people 5 on and 2 off? And where they're rotated, where you're not having all the call time, where they work through a weekend?
Or
we just work Monday through Friday and then
You
you're on
talking
call?
about my guys?
Mhm.
Well, I don't think it'd be very feasible. I mean, I suppose we could, but it wouldn't be very feasible.
Because you have to have.
Well, I mean, you still have linemen and you still have guys that do water stuff, and your linemen are pretty thin the way it is. So, you know, one of us tries to stay around, even though I'm not on call anymore. I still stay in town about 95% of the time, so that the guys have the flexibility to come and go a little bit. I think the restriction years ago was the fact that if you forced them to stay in town, then you need to pay them an hourly on call time. And so this way, by paying them $40 on a Saturday and 40 on a Sunday, you still give them the flexibility to have 30 minutes to be called out.
And this
Been
would
that
just-
way since I went to work here in 1980. I mean, you know, and it can be changed to whatever you want, but I'm just saying, flexibility-wise, you know, we've never had any problem having enough guys, no matter what happened, but still giving them the flexibility to be able to, you know, take their wife out to supper or whatever they want to do and still be back in time.
So how many people do you have on call?
I have 6 guys.
You have 6 guys on
I
call?
have 2 guys on a weekend.
Oh, so you have 2 guys on call on a weekend?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes. So anything up to something really major, you know, mostly 2 guys can handle most of it, so.
And if the 2 guys would run into something major, they have a way of getting a hold of other help
Yeah, sure.
or call.
Yep, yep.
Private
You know,
contractors,
unless
et cetera.
the guys clear out of the country, why, most of us don't go very far, especially this time of the year, so. And my guys, we kinda have a basic understanding that when we know that the weather's getting bad, the guys stick around. I mean, out of the goodness of their heart, you know, instead of being paid, I mean, they just stick around because they know that's their job, so. And like with me, I have no place to go anyway, so I'm here most of the time. I have no life anymore, you know. So, that's kind of the way we've done it.
And I guess to me, I see that, like, quite a few of these times you work, you know, 30, 40 hours of on-call time, and I think it's reasonable to, you know, pay $80 for that. But if someone were to work, you know, be on call for 3-5 hours, I mean, is it still right to give them $80 for that? I mean, do you?
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, that's, when it's the bare minimum like that, that's something we can deal with. But it's just, you know, it's the times like this when we're down to 3 guys. I mean, you're covering an average of 40 hours per pay period on call. So that's the main reason why. And like I said, you know, they can't, when they're on call, they can't
Especially
leave
with
town. We
a
can't
5-minute response time, we
Yeah,
can't.
we can't take 30 minutes to respond to an emergency or a domestic call or something like that.
Sure.
So.
And that's just full-time employees that are on call?
Yeah, with our part-timer, I've been covering all the on-call time for that, so.
So how would we deal with it if they were happen to get called out and they're out there for 4 to 5 hours? I mean, how are we gonna deal with that if we go ahead and approve whatever amount?
It's the same way. If they get called out, then they're gonna be paid overtime if it's over their 40 hours.
On top of the 80, because they were on call.
Right.
And the on-call money is you're really buying
Them
restrictions.
to stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying for them essentially to not do anything else. or-
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that they don't even claim. You know, if they're on call and they get called out for a 10-minute call to chase a dog that they can't find and they go back home, then they're not gonna claim that. Or if they just, if they decide to go.
Extra patrols at night, about maybe 10, 15 minutes past their go home
Or
time,
if
I
they
usually
work
don't log that.
If they work an evening shift and they're on call from, say, 4 to 8 in the evening, but their kid has something going on at school and they come out in uniform a couple hours early and go to that, they don't claim that as overtime. They, they're allowed to do that on their on-call time, so they come out and then they just claim their 8 hours. So it's not anything we ever have a problem with abuse of overtime whatsoever.
But we really need to address it when we finish the employee handbook and address some things there, do you not think?
Well, I think it's just kind of loose policies or something. I've not seen anything written down. I've asked Jamie, and I reviewed the current handbook.
I didn't see it when I read it.
It's not in the current handbook, it just needs to be defined at some way.
More codify it, or at least put it in the handbook where we all know what's going on.
It's 30 minutes is typical. I mean, it can't really get outside of St. John very far. 15 minutes if you're gonna be back, so you are limiting them to city limits essentially.
Well, Chief, what I think is that something needs to be done as far as you guys are being confined here and possibly have to go to work and you're not getting compensated for it. So I think the council needs to do something to make sure these guys are getting compensated. The rest of our workers get compensated for having to hang around. Their job's different than our police officers. So yes, we need to do, maybe it's not what the city department does, but certainly need to do something for our officers because, and hearing the little things of, oh, we give a little bit to the time clock, mark your time down. Mark your time down. You don't work for free, in my opinion. Mark your time down. I don't know what the consensus of the council is, but mark your time down. In my opinion. Anyone have any thoughts on maybe what we could do? We've heard what they've done in the past. Any ideas or thoughts of what we could get going for them?
What's the fewest amount of on-call hours does a person typically have in a pay period, Adam? Do you know?
Right now, it's gonna be 20 minimum.
Would it be fair to split that 80 in half and say up to 20 you get 40 and up to 40 hours of on-call time you get 80, and then anything over 80 you get $2 per hour of on-call time? I mean, it splits it in half. You know, that way you're guaranteed 20 if you work 4 hours of on-call. You're guaranteed to get paid $40. And then if you have 40, you're guaranteed anything above 20, you're guaranteed $80. And then anything over 40 would just do $2 an hour on top of that. I mean, I don't know if that's fair to you guys. I don't know if you want to talk.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind of find it in a range.
I just don't. I'm salaried. I mean,
right, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that paying them 80 if they only work 10 hours of on-call time.
Right, I wouldn't want you to do that. I agree with you.
But I mean,
saying,
if we split it in half, to where if you're 20 and under, you get $40. Right. If you're 20 and over, you get 80.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And then $2 over anything over 40 hours of on-call time. I mean, I would be all right with that.
I think it's fair for the city's budget and for them. I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
What are your
I
thoughts,
think
John?
that's a reasonable idea right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a line item specifically for on-call, but
Right.
the dollar amount is set to accommodate pretty much exactly what you're talking about.
Can't expect them to stay around without.
Right.
And Adam and I can talk about this, but I guess the on-call though is not the same per person per pay period. I mean, your work schedule is set up, to me, the work schedule should be set up kind of like, so that you're on call. Explain to me, are you on call for a certain period of time following a shift?
It depends. So for instance, our day shift is 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the whoever's working day shift has the discretion of when they take their on-call time or when they work their 8-hour shift. And the evening shift is 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. So if Charlie tonight, he might have been on call from 4 to 6. He's gonna work 6 to 2 and then be back on call from 2 to 4. He might stay on call till 8 and work 8 to 4. I mean,
So
they
that's
try
where
to
the
juggle it around.
discrepancy is. That's where there could be discrepancy from week to week.
Right.
Yeah, or for instance, right now with the part-time officer, because he has a full-time job, he's not able to get here for an evening shift until 6. And then he's off, he typically works 6 hours, he's off at midnight. So for instance, today, I went on call at midnight last night and then worked until 4 o'clock today. But there's been a lot of times if the part-time officer works 2 days in a row, then essentially I'm covering on call and work hours from midnight clear through the day until 6 p.m. He comes and works 6 to midnight, then I'm right back on.
I mean, the easiest way to do it would be you get a set amount of money for an on-call period of time. And that way, those who want to make extra money can take extra on-call periods of time, and then somebody else but, I mean, I just don't think that's gonna work for this kind of
But
arrangement.
the way that the on-call hours are the same per pay period, regardless of who works them. So even if he wants to cover call to make more money, the dollar amount again coming out is still gonna be the same.
Well, where it differs is that we have different days off. So as the month progresses, you might have somebody that might have a Thursday, Friday off, and then somebody has a Monday, Tuesday off. So the hours they're not going to match up to each officer. They're going to be different on each pay period for each officer, due to the fact of the days off not being the same.
It's training.
So that's why I agree with Marshall. If you don't get that,
It's kind of a tier system.
I like what Marshall pointed out. That's
I'd like to do it
pretty
that way.
fair.
I think it's fair and easy and simple. I mean,
I think that's what you're proposing as the most reasonable
Right.
idea, so.
and it takes a lot of the hard figuring out of anything else.
Right.
20, 40, and then anything over 40 is $2 extra.
We can
Yeah, per
put
hour.
that in the motion and kind of, and then it'll be in the minutes going forward till we can get it in the handbook.
So it would take, when we want it to take effect?
Well,
I
we
think
would
that's the other issue on it.
back to when they dropped down to 3 officers. What was that, October, Adam? Or was it?
Yes, I don't remember the exact date. That's something I forgot to.
Any idea what that costs?
I don't know, but I know, I know last year we had a line item of $6,300 for on-call time too. However, that wasn't encumbered for this year.
He's
so.
funded out of the general fund anyway, so if he goes over on a line item this year, it won't be, it's not a big issue. Because it's all
I mean, I guess if
police
you
and fire
take,
funded out of it. And everything.
even at the most amount of money, if you take 2 officers at $80 a pay period,
Yeah.
that's
You're-
160, so you're looking at,
Right.
it's not gonna be that significant.
I would make a motion to do the on-call pay for the police department at 20 hours at $40 and 40 hours at $80 and $2 for anything per hour over 40, and pay it back to when they drop down to 3 officers.
Say that again.
So they're gonna pay $40 for 20 hours and under, and then they're gonna pay $80 the 80 for the 40 hours and under. And for each hour over 80, it's $2 per hour.
Over 40.
Over 40, yeah. Over the 40 hours, not above 80 here, yeah.
Second.
Motion and a second on the
And
table.
did you get that back too when they dropped to 3 officers?
Yeah.
But that's stuff I can get that to you tomorrow. The date.
Can I ask you a question?
Just one moment, right? Okay, so a motion and a second on the table to pay the police department $40 for 20 hours and $80 for 40 and under, and for each additional hour over 40 hours, $2 per hour, backdating it to the time that they dropped down to 3 officers. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5. What else for you, Chief?
Okay, next thing I've got, in reference to our part-time officer, we had discussed with him the possibility of becoming full-time. I've discussed that with him. That is something that he's currently not interested in, mainly because we would be unable to match his salary at his current employment. He's receiving some additional responsibilities there, and he would like to remain there. He did express the interest in staying on part-time for us until we can get another officer hired, and then even after that if we needed it. So that would be my next request, would be to go ahead and advertise for our 4th full-time officer and get that process going.
Did you have anybody when you put your eligibility list out, Adam?
We had Bill.
Just Bill?
And then today, I received an application from an individual who, he listed Bill as a reference, so I'm sure there's a possibility that they had talked, that filled out an application for full-time today. But I have not advertised for full-time yet, just the part-time several months ago.
What's council think?
Perhaps just go ahead and advertise, look at this application, and then advertise for a 4th officer, so we can get back up
Advertising
to
to
snuff.
fill a 4th officer position or putting out an eligibility list. I want to be clear on that. We're looking to fill the 4th position.
Yes.
Is that the
Is
consensus?
Bill still wanting to do part-time, or are you saying if you get a 4th officer, you won't need a part-time, right?
It'd be nice to still have. I mean, he said that after we get the 4th full-time, he'd still be willing to cover if we ever, if we needed it.
Like vacation days or training or
Vacation training.
some of those weekends.
Stuff happens. He also expressed times like the Jubilee or something like that where it'd really be nice to have an extra hand out. He'd be more than willing to do that too. So, and that's definitely not anything that would be a budget issue. It'd be minimal enough on the part-time aspect of it that wouldn't be a problem either.
So the consensus is to let Adam advertise to fill a 4th officer position, the understanding of keeping the part-time officer as well. Is that the consensus, everybody?
I don't see why not.
It sounds fine to me.
I object. I don't think you have a motion.
Right, I know, but I'm looking at a consensus here. Do we need a motion on that, John? Do it.
You're just giving him permission?
Permission to start looking to fill that position.
You want your objection noted? I mean, we can do a
You
motion.
demand my objection, I object.
So why don't you do a motion so you can...
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to let Adam look to hire a 4th officer with the understanding of keeping the part-timer as needed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, the last thing I got for you, you can disregard the Tahoe that's in your packet. That vehicle's since been sold. We discussed some vehicles in the past, but right now our needs as a department are changing in regards to the future of needing to transport inmates to and from jail for court appearances, that kind of thing. Something we've never had to do before. Currently, I know we have, I believe, one individual that has some fines that hasn't been paid, that has the possibility of having a bench warrant issued. We've had more misdemeanor cases filed for misdemeanor traffic violations, but they're for driving without a license or not having a driver's license, so depending on their traffic criminal history, which we don't know yet, there's a possibility for jail time on that, and obviously, through the municipal court, we're gonna have to transport those individuals. The main reason I was approached you with that vehicle is one, the vehicle with that amount of equipment at that price was a pretty incredible deal. And there was an option for that one to come fully equipped with a prisoner cage as well. I do have another option available of a vehicle that's for sale down in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's also a Tahoe, fully equipped cage and all that. If it's something you guys would at all be entertained allowing, we currently have $24,600 in capital outlay that we set aside specifically for patrol vehicles. I can pass around the information if it's something you're not interested in, then
Certainly pass the information. Adam, as far as a transport vehicle goes, so are you looking to replace one of the vehicles you have, add a vehicle you have?
essentially what we would like to do is replace the 2000 Chevy that we have. This being a fully equipped vehicle would essentially give us 3 serviceable vehicles that we could actually use. I mean, the Chevy, really the only thing we can use it for is jockeying around vehicles and picking up dead animals. But because this is a fully equipped vehicle, it would give us 3 full service vehicles, and like I said, the ability to do the transport. The issues we run into with the others is by the time you have 4 officers that are 6 foot plus riding in a Dodge Charger with a cage, you really don't fit very well. So the SUV would be ideal. So essentially what this one is, it's a 2013 Chevy Tahoe with 90,000 miles. They're asking $12,000.
Adam, I would like to see maybe going forward and seeing how it's going to work out with two vehicles, that 2 newer vehicles. I know the vehicles that you have are what, 5 years old, not anything more than 5 years old, right?
Right, yeah, 5 and 4.
Yeah.
Cities 5 times this size have people out on bicycles patrolling. So if the cop car's out, get a bicycle. I could patrol every damn, my fat old man could be down every street in this town in a 4-hour period of time. And you'd never transport enough people to pay for a $13,000 vehicle if you got all the fines collected.
What I'm saying is, I guess, just see how we get by for a while.
See how we get by.
And later on down the road, if it becomes a problem, we can look into it, but it's just my 2 cents.
Do you have cages and anything now? You don't?
We don't.
What, and I don't know whether the county would go for it, and I know it's not the most feasible vehicle in the world, but I know the county does have a transport van. It may be for the time to get by and use it if need be. I know it's a rolling hunt, you're gonna have to work on it a lot, but what does it cost? What does it cost to put a cage in the truck or something?
The truck is probably going to be the most expensive because it's not your typical police vehicle. Your average cage is going to be around a couple $1,000. And for either one of the vehicles, it would probably be most beneficial to put what they call a quarter cage, which would be just on the passenger side. If this is not an option you guys would be interested in, then I would ask that some of those capital outlay funds may be used to put a cage in an existing patrol vehicle.
Hey, Adam, and not to add something to the discussion, aren't you required to have a woman with you if you go to pick up a female inmate?
No.
I think by state law you have to.
It's no different than not have, we don't have to have a woman with us when we arrest a female. You know, what we're required to do is record our location and mileage with dispatch. And essentially that goes into a formula. If we're transporting a female inmate from here to Barton County, we give the dispatcher our beginning mileage and ending mileage and the time frame. And it's very, and especially if you had somebody back in a cage, it'd be very easy to
Yeah,
prove
and-
wrong any allegations if it took you 25 minutes to drive to Great Neck.
And they only apply to counties.
I know the sheriff's department doesn't even take females when they transport females. They have one deputy that transports anywhere up to three to four people at a time.
I know it sometimes, sometime in my experience when I worked with the sheriff's office, that there were some instances where the officer did ask for an additional person to go along because, you know, things were said, and so they were like, we're not even gonna have this discussion, so, I mean, things like that even, I mean, that's kinda, I guess,
Right.
it's not a law, I mean, it would become maybe a policy issue with your department, you know.
Well, what is common practice, if we arrest a female on scene for the purpose of safety, we obviously do a pat search for weapons, et cetera. Then once we get to the sheriff's office, then we would have one of our dispatchers do a thorough search if it was a female. Now, you know, I mean, gosh, I've been here since 2004 and we've never, not only have we not had female officers, we've never had a female go with anybody on transport.
What vehicle were you talking about putting a partial cage in?
It'd have to be the truck.
The truck.
The Dodge truck, yeah.
You don't have a cage in either vehicle, is what you're saying?
We don't, no.
Oh.
The reason we don't is,
You never really had to worry about transporting.
exactly, you know, when we ran everything through district court, then they were all transported by the deputies. And although it'd be much safer to have a cage, that was just a pretty steep expense that we didn't find necessary to arrest and transport here within town. Now, if we were going farther, then that's why it's necessary. A lot can happen between here and 20 miles down the road.
So it's basically came down to being a necessity with having to do our own transports, is that correct?
Yeah. For an officer safety standpoint, it is, yeah.
Yeah, that
Well,
shouldn't be a discussion on safety.
I would be fine with, do you think you only want to do a partial in one though? I mean, are you talking just the top half?
No, what it is,
Or just one corner?
it's half. So basically,
You'd only haul one person.
we could, yeah, realistically, we could only haul one. Now, I mean, we could do a full cage in there,
But half a cage is $2,000?
yeah.
Wow.
But believe it or not, the quarter, what they call a quarter cage is more expensive.
And that's, it does half of it and then comes back, is that correct?
It's an enclosure is what it
So
is.
if you want to see.
How much more is for a full one?
Yeah.
Typically, the full one's gonna be less, because it's just a partition. You're not, the reason the quarter is more expensive is because you have more sheet metal, more bends in the sheet metal, more nuts and bolts. And
Does it come with I mean, if we ended up doing like a full cage, is it gonna come with more fees? Because don't you guys have your guns and stuff like in the back seat? I mean, is there gonna come down to the point where we're gonna have to spend more money on having to store all that stuff?
You would, but that's, you know,
No.
your gun, you're looking at $250 there. I mean, that's not, that expense part of it isn't that great.
Why don't you get prices to possibly put cages in both vehicles for us?
I mean, because
Full,
Labor.
partial? I would prefer full
it is,
on both vehicles, and let's look at that.
the thing I'm kind of seeing here is that, you know, putting these upgrades into these vehicles, what's the life of the vehicle? I mean, when is the next vehicle up to be traded in? Why wouldn't you just do that all when you get a new vehicle? You know what I
Because
mean?
never had to really worry about it
Well,
prior to.
right. So, I mean, is a vehicle coming due, coming up close?
It depends on how you look at that, because when we did our strategic planning, we laid out to replace vehicles at 50,000 miles. And that was the reason behind having more money in capital outlay, because we were gonna be able to get to the point of paying cash for vehicles instead of leasing them. Because when you traded them in, they still had a good balance of the factory warranty. You'd get a good trade-in, which would pay for a lot of your equipment and that kind of thing in your vehicles. Because the problem is, unless you're gonna buy the same vehicle day after, you know, time after time, not all the equipment can be reused.
Right.
But, you know, we've, in talking with the sheriff's office about equipment stuff, the stuff is getting so outrageous anymore. We've all talked about buying simple metal pegboards to put our radios and stuff in, because you can spend $600 to $1,000 on a console that does nothing but hold a couple radios and has a couple cup holders. You know, I mean, so the market is, it's just ridiculous.
When you look for that, when you're looking around for these cages, is there a certain brand or something that's pretty interchangeable with other vehicles or not? I mean, that's something that if there is, I'd look into that option just because of.
I have yet to see one, I mean, I guess if somebody was an engineer, that'd be a smart thing to do, to make something that could telescope side to side, up and down, but I haven't seen anything, because most of them, for safety reasons, they have to be rigid and bolted in.
You can just buy one.
Because last thing you want is getting a side impact or something like that, and then prisoner gets their leg or something cut off because your cage came loose, and then you got a mess. Because unfortunately, they have more rights than we do usually.
So
Do you know what year and how many miles around vehicles you have now?
Yes, the Charger's 2014 with 38,000. I think the Dodge Truck's a 13 with probably going on 65.
Somewhere around there, close to it, yeah.
63, 65.
Adam, what's the manufacturer of these cages?
Well, there's multiple.
Multiple. What's the one that you might be looking at? The one that you were looking at with the truck right here?
I haven't looked at it.
You haven't looked at it?
No, that was just an option I was, because it's a piece of equipment we need. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of manufacturers. To be honest, with the truck is going to be the harder part, because like I said, it's not your traditional police vehicle. So I would assume by now, after 4 years of Dodge having those special service trucks, that somebody's made something, but I've never looked into it.
Okay, thank you.
So consensus is to have Adam look into doing full on both vehicles, bring some prices back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's all I got.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fire Chief.
The only thing I got is we've had a couple guys retire, a couple guys wanting to retire, we've lost a couple people. We're getting pretty low in the fire department. We're having trouble finding people. Right now, the city during the day, there's not a lot of coverage. So, if anybody has any ideas on how we can get or recruit more people, or know of anybody, it'd be appreciated. We've tried to reach out to some people, there's just not a lot of people interested, so. But we're getting pretty thin, especially during the day.
Are there any kind of workshops or trainings or outlets out there that you could send some of our guys to, or yourself to maybe there's that secret recipe of how to draw those guys in? I mean, something that you haven't thought of? Have you looked into that at all?
Well, I've never heard of it. I mean,
Okay, I didn't
there
know.
might be. I wouldn't know where it'd be, but yeah, I mean, I can do some checking, but.
Maybe see what other towns are doing. I mean, are they in the same boat? What have they done in the past that has worked in getting people there?
Small town, I mean, it's just getting hard. Small
Right.
town, everybody's busy. I mean, being a volunteer fire department, it's hard to, it's hard, everybody's busy. They got kids, they got lives, I mean.
Do you see it as an issue of what they're getting compensated on calls or training isn't equivalent to the time they're putting into it? I mean, is it the pay of, I get $20, it's not worth my time? I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean,
honestly, when you're volunteering, it's
right,
for the good of your community, but,
right.
you know.
I mean, I'm not saying that's the problem, it's just
Right.
volunteer. It's
Right.
hard. So, I mean, right now, we would probably have to end up calling another station in if we had a fire in town. Our response is 2, 3 people. I mean, depending on during the day, probably you'll be lucky to get 2 or 3 people. I mean, I'm usually back fairly early. I leave early, get back. So.
And the costs associated with having another department come in to take care of our
There's no
fires?
cost
There's
there. It's
none?
just.
Okay, I didn't know.
It's just.
Right.
The county picks up that cost actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I
Because we
mean,
But I mean, we're
we
not
pay the
gonna
county
use it.
department, Yeah, I mean.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna abuse that, because that's, I mean, that's not fair to
I mean, I'm
anybody
saying
else.
if we have to, if we don't have guys or calling in other departments and we have to send a big fat check to those guys for helping us out, all's fine and well, as long as we're taken care of, but if we can, I don't know, pay our guys maybe a little more to get them to sign up, get them to stay around, maybe that, you know, the offset of that cost, you know, maybe it's worth bumping that pay for the volunteers up a little bit to have some retention. Maybe have a little extra drive of, you know, yeah, showing up to these training meetings. You know, my time is pretty valuable to me, and working a part-time job.
Right.
They told me, oh, we could give you this an hour, and I said my time's worth more than that. I mean, I'd love to help you out, but I can't do it. You know, so I mean, I think there's value associated with it, along with the community service side of it as well.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a factor. I'm just throwing it out there, guys.
I know we've got 2 people that have been retired for years and they're ready to get off, but they keep
won't
holding
do it.
on because there's just not, I mean, we just don't have the people.
Yeah. And they won't leave us. They
Right.
won't leave us because they know there won't be anybody. And that's a good volunteer.
But we're getting to the point where it's getting pretty thin. I mean,
I'd just say to kind of advertisement avenue, just if you have it in your budget to spend it maybe on a sponsor, you can sponsor deals on Facebook. Try to get young people, because
yeah, I mean, we've
people
held,
have stuck around in that fire department and they
Yeah.
finally retire. They put in their time, and I feel like let's try to kind of just do some brainstorming on what you can do to get a younger crowd in. I mean, Facebook's a great avenue, and I don't know what other avenues you could kind of think of, but maybe spend a little money on that kind of stuff. That's kind of the only.
yeah. I mean, we've held things up at the square trying to get people involved and come to see what we're about, but recruitment type deal, but that, I mean, that didn't really.
No.
I mean, you get a couple people that say they're interested, but then you never, I mean, you do a follow-up and, oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those
kids
deals,
and-
they don't do it for the money. I mean, it's
Right,
just.
yeah, that's really not an issue. I mean, that's not really.
So what are our requirements?
Have you tried over at the
Fire
high school,
department. We
talking
don't
with
have
any
a
of the
staff.
soon-to-be graduating seniors?
Yeah, the only problem we've seen
You'll
with that is if we
Well, I
get
mean,
somebody that gets out and they wanna get
we'll have a
on,
chief.
they're on for a couple months and then they go to college, well,
Right.
we've spent the money to get them. I mean, that-
Mutual aid involved.
Yeah, I mean, some of them you can get that will stay around, but if they don't, then you've invested that money into them and then they're gone. So you really only have them for a couple months and they haven't really got a handle. I mean, they can't really, I mean, it probably takes a good year to really know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, I mean, you learn all the time, but I mean,
Right.
as far as being comfortable doing anything, I mean, it's a process.
Yeah, take some time.
Right, but looking at the future, I mean, I could retire in 2 years, Marshall could retire in 2 years. We've got 3 or 4 other people that could retire in 2 years. I mean, we're just getting,
If you put in 20, the state does pay you about $10,000 though, if you put in 20 years of service.
yeah, I mean, there's an incentive there, but like I said, I mean, that's 20 years.
Right.
Right.
There's really no easy answer to it, for sure.
No, I mean,
Way
it's
to
just
put
hard.
out that knowledge, you know, I mean, as far as, you know, some marketing materials that can be put together and say, this is the reward for your volunteering in your community. You know, I mean, when you're volunteering, you don't go for the pat on the back, but it is a nice incentive. So I mean, if that information is there and compiled and available, I mean, maybe that's a step in the right direction. I mean, I don't know what other cities are doing. I mean, that are in the same boat. Are they consolidating positions and having full-time people that part of their job description is that they are a firefighter? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what other cities are doing, but there has to be something out there that's being done. So, I mean, like with Maxville Police Department, their officers work for the city. on the actual street department or whatever, and then they're also police officers. So, for a town of that size. So I don't know if the same kind of goes along with maybe some small fire departments. So at least they have a couple of people on top of the volunteers that they have. I don't know. Just
Well,
things that are coming to
Like I
mind.
said, if anybody, I mean, if you guys know of anybody or hear, think somebody might be good, see if they're interested, have them get a hold of me. Anybody, I mean, you don't have to have any training. We do all in-house training, so I
Right.
mean, that's not a necessity.
Maybe get together with the girls in the office and see if you can, you know, use the city of St. John's Facebook page a little bit to put some of that out there in addition to your guys' Facebook as well, or maybe ask her to share your posts if you put out some posts, for just some informational saying, hey guys.
If you get some information, maybe send it to me. I could put it on the Sandyland Shepherd Center's Facebook page and help you out that way. We might even be able to put something on to the Maquis on Channel 3. So.
Okay.
I'm all about doing whatever we gotta do to help you out, Chief, to get the people in there volunteering. So, if there's something that you can think of that requires our help, I'm sure everybody here will do what they can, because when it comes down to your house and you need somebody and you're waiting on somebody, you're from another town.
Yeah, that's the problem with
Just
calling
saying.
in another town. I mean,
Right, I mean, and
you
our
got a
town,
15-minute at least, if not 20-minute wait for them to get here. A lot can go. I mean,
how many people did you say you have currently on the city department?
13, I think,
13.
on the roster.
But like I said,
How
during
many
the
are
day, you're
active?
looking at 2, 3
Right,
at the most.
right.
And then even at, I mean, it's a volunteer, so weekends.
Yeah.
If people have been drinking or something like that, I mean, they can't come. So I mean, you can't expect people not to have a life. You know what I mean? So sometimes the weekends 4, 5, 6. Other days we'll have 10. You got a lot of older people that are ready to get off, so, I
Right.
mean, it's just something we need to,
Certainly express my gratitude. I mean, I would assume the council's gratitude for sticking it out with us and continuing to serve, because that's huge, and that's appreciated from me. We'll do what we can to help you out, in my opinion.
and like I said, if you know of anybody, just let them
Certainly.
get a hold of me, 'cause we could use anybody we could.
What's the age limit?
18.
Yeah, you have to be
You
18.
have to be
Yeah,
18.
you have to be 18. I thought you meant top age limit.
At this point,
We can put you through the
Look,
test.
look, look.
There is no age
pass the
limit.
test, you're in. If you can pass the test, you're
Yeah,
in.
that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Looking back 20 years.
Okay, moving on to our assistant city clerk here this evening.
I don't really have anything. A couple weeks ago, we got 5 scholarships to go to a leadership class from the academic development. That's $400 for each scholarships. I think we finally register everybody today, so that would be from March 6th to the 9th,
It's the
I believe?
6th, 7th, and 8th. It's a
Yeah,
2.5-day
something like
course in
that.
Wichita.
Right.
I know Adam will be attending one of those courses that fits with the department's schedule. Then I asked if we could get those, that we put as many people in there as we can, because $400 a pop is, that's a nice scholarship that doesn't have to come out of the city's dollars, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
I know you get as you guys too. Which, this is kind of just a broad leadership course that can benefit people in their everyday life, their career, and also the capacity that they serve if they're a volunteer with the city council. So everybody's getting something out of it, I think, and I've heard good things about it. So when someone's offering up $400 a pop, 5 people, we're going to get some people a little bit of extra knowledge. Maybe it'll come back and benefit us. What else, Pam?
Do you want to have him appointed somebody for the handbook?
Oh, Jamie and I have been talking, and we've been sending emails back and forth about putting together this handbook. And my thought is, and Dakota, you can do it any way you want, but is that you and another council member, or you as long as we're under the quorum, be kind of the sounding board for all this, because otherwise your city staff is just putting it together, and then you guys are going to get it out in a packet, and it would be better that it be approved kind of incrementally as we're doing it, my thought.
Good, so as far as if we had a committee, we would go through and make the necessary changes and improvements, and then where would we go from there?
Well,
Would we go to departments? What would,
there's a draft now, and my thought to her was that the draft be reviewed, and then once you guys are okay, the committee's okay with the draft, then it can go to the department heads for their input, and then come back to the committee. And that way it's been vetted several times before it goes to the entire council for their.
make necessary adjustments along the way and then bring it back to council?
Because it's going to be things like, on call, like we've talked about.
Right.
And other things related to sick leave, and I know she's got some ideas with regard to the sick leave and that kind of thing, as opposed to being put on council's plate all at once. It kind of just has been seen with some eyes, and that way, if there's some council members that have a better understanding of how it got to that point that's being proposed to the full council, in my mind, it would just be better off with the entire process, because otherwise your staff is kind of pulling stuff from different areas and throwing it into one. So.
Certainly. Okay, so can I add, just appoint 2 people? Do I need?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do I need a motion system or anything like that?
Okay. Party duties.
I'd certainly say that that's something that we need to get done. I know a lot of other cities at the beginning of the year, they kind of review and update and approve, and I think we need to do that as well. So I definitely appoint Marshall and Ryan to sit on that committee to go over the policy handbook, if that's okay with you guys.
Fine by me.
Okay, and if we can take time in our own time to review that and get together a couple times before we present that, just to kind of feed off of each other, that would be perfect. Thank you, guys. What else?
That's it.
And Jeff.
Last council meeting, we discussed the purchase of a pickup with the council that was here. We had a quorum, but that's all we had. And between the mayor and the council that was here, they felt like this should go before the full council before we did it. There was some discussion. We've been in contact with a Chevrolet dealership down in Kiowa, and I left a package of stuff for each one of you guys. And municipalities are kind of in a unique position. When Bob was still sitting as the mayor, well, he wanted to know about warranty and that stuff, but GM has a deal that I spelled it all out for each one of you and give you a copy of Jeff Bryan's letter. That the deal that GM does, they are willing to trade new pickups every year, with the cost only being at this point in time of the change of moving the service bed from one truck to another. We normally put about probably 4,000 to 5,000 miles on there, and the reason they do that is we buy it at a substantial discount compared to what even the dealerships can buy it, and so they feel like they get their money back when we trade it back in. And so the total cost of the deal was $29,424 for the pickup, and then $5,000 for the bed. And then if there was any cost on trading the bed at the end of the year or the next year, why, he thought it'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of $500. So we essentially get a brand new pickup for basically just 2 oil changes is about what it amounts to. And I wanted to set it up. I know in the past when we've bought stuff, we've got an equipment reserve to buy those out of, but I know with cash being the way it is, that I talked to Chad Fisher about setting it up on a 5-year lease purchase so that we didn't bite the cash quite so hard. The interest rate's 3%, And we felt like for that, you know, that we could start updating some vehicles. Our old vehicles are about wore out. The oldest one, the old gray pickup, I know the council that sat on last meeting felt like that he was offering us $1,500 for that old gray pickup. A couple of the council members felt like that we could sell it on Purple Wave or outright for more than what he was gonna give us for it. So, this is basically where we're at right here, and it's nothing more than just a standard work truck. I mean, there's nothing fancy about it. And if you were interested in doing that deal, why, at the first of next year, he'd be ready to do it again, so.
Jeff, this is an extended cab truck.
It's a four-door pickup,
truck.
yes.
Did you look at a two-door truck?
We didn't, and the reason we didn't is we don't have room in a two-door truck for coats, maps, books. You know, we wanted an extended cab, but he felt like that the resale value of a four-door pickup would be better.
I
And
don't
the cost
think they
was,
make an extended cab today, do they?
no, not really. They make a short-doored pickup.
That's basically what an extended cab is anymore. It's double, they call it a double cab.
It's a
It
short,
says 4 doors.
it's kind of a
Basically the same
short-doored
size.
pickup, isn't it? I think, but
Yeah.
still it's 4 doors. So we felt like with the stuff we carry, I mean, we carry coats and maps and books and, you know, that kind of stuff, that the extra room. And if we went somewhere and it took 3 guys, you know, we'd have some room in there. So we selected for not much difference in between the cost of the 2-door pickup, and the Ford pickups were $5,000 higher without the bed. So this is why we settled on a General Motors pickup, was that he gave us a municipal deal that's just pretty hard to beat, so.
So he's just starting to do this?
No, he's done it with Barber County for the last few years. He trades 2 pickups a year with Barber County.
Uh-huh.
So this is not a new thing, but it's only good to government agencies. And like he told David, we buy pickups cheaper than the dealers can buy them because of the discount that General Motors gives. And as long as they have this type of trade, why, a person would be foolish not to trade it every year.
He said it's been this way for 33 years, I think. That GM's kept this deal. He's not saying in 5-10 years down the road it ain't gonna change, but he figured 33 years it's been this way.
What boggles my mind is how we didn't figure this out earlier. It's kind of a pretty neat deal.
It really is.
Uh,
Well, we hadn't been looking for a pickup. I mean, we try to get 15 years out of our pickups if we can. The Dodge that we want to get rid of is a 2001. It's 17 years old. It's wore out.
So is this deal to municipalities in general, like any department? I mean, this
Any
this
department.
is like a pretty neat
Any
deal. Like
department.
if
Yep, it's for government agencies, you know, whether it's state, city, county, whatever it is.
I think
It's
it's something to
available
keep in
to-
mind whenever.
Yeah, it's
our
available
department
to all.
needs-
So,
I believe he said it was Medicine Lodge just purchased 7 of them,
Mhm.
and they got 2 sitting there from time before to trade in. But they just purchased 7 of them.
he gets his money back after we trade them back in because he can sell them for more than what he would have paid for them new.
Now, this
So-
is a cab and chassis pickup.
It's
8 foot.
it's an 8 foot pickup with a takeoff bed is what it is, and then they take the bed off, then put the Knapheide bed on. That's what
Okay,
they
so
do.
it's not a cab and chassis.
No.
Oh.
You can't really buy. You get a cab or a bed delete now, but you don't really get what they call a cabin chassis. Is the way he
Really?
explained it to us. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
So
That's white?
it's silver.
Oh. So we have to paint the bed, or the bed's gonna be white?
Or we can leave it white.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. I mean, we can paint it, whatever.
I mean, what he does is we give him a list of vinyl seats, you know, the whole list, and he goes all over the United States, you know, looking for the specific color, what we want, and brings it home. And in 6 weeks, we'll get the truck with the bed and everything ready to go. So if we wanted white, we'd go white, you know, to match. I just went with silver. I feel like white shows everything. Maybe it don't, but that's the only reason why I picked silver.
Jeff, on this pickup, is this, what department is this going to replace?
It'd be going to water and sewer. It'd be going, yeah.
So do you just basically borrow the money and carry the money for 5 years and just?
You keep getting a new truck every year. Yeah, that's what you get. I mean, you don't have to do it, but I think you'd be foolish not to. You don't hardly get through 2 oil changes, you know. I mean, staying in town the way we do, you'd be lucky to put 5,000 or 6,000 miles a year on it, I think. And I think that's what he's banking on, is that you're going to have a vehicle that's not going to have hardly any wear and tear, and it's basically a year old and still, you know, way under miles. So, and they're not fancy trucks. I mean, they're work trucks, but you know, for what we want and for what we need, they suit us just fine. I mean, they're steel wheels and rubber floor mats, and I mean, they're just basically work trucks. If you look through the list of stuff on there, you'll see that like the Sirius radio's been deleted, the OnStar's been deleted, stuff like, I mean, stuff we don't need. All we need is a basic truck. Or to get cruise control on them, we have to take power windows. That's part of the package, which we really didn't care whether they were power or they were crank, but that's just part of the package you get when you get the cruise control package. So, but we'd like to keep doing this. I mean, we think it's a great deal that would be foolish not to do that way. Once you make your initial investment, why? And I think we've gotten the goodie out of that old gray truck, and we think too, like a couple of councilmen said last meeting, that it'll bring more than $1,500. I mean, it's a 2001, but it's, you know, it's had 2 front ends under it. The doors are wore out. I mean, the water pump, we've been through it. We've been through, you know, the bed's cracked down the sides from the weight of the toolbox. I mean, it's wore out. It's time to leave. So.
What about the blue flatbed, Jeff? Is it?
We keep it for patching and oiling. That's the reason we keep it.
I mean, you couldn't get rid of that one and put the silver pickup
We'd rather
in
not.
replacement of it?
We think the flatbed pickup's a better pickup than that Dodge is. And we use it strictly for pulling the oiler and that stuff, you know. And we don't want to put it in any more decent pickup than that, but that old Dodge, the blue pickup's in better shape than that Dodge is. It really is. So we think it's safer to keep the old truck and use it for oiling and patching than it is to save that Dodge. And it's due for a set of tires now, and that's $500. We didn't see you even putting tires on until the council made a decision. So
I've ridden with Dave in that patching truck over to Jubilee. And
it's a good pickup. It was electric department pickup and got passed down to the shop, you know. And it's not a cream puff, but it works really good for patching, and it's got a bed on it, air compressor and that stuff that we use for oiling and that. So Dave just chooses to drive it every day because he likes it.
I think it's the best stuff we got.
So, but
What, does the bank have an issue with us trading one off every year and having, I mean,
I talked to Chad, he said we'd be foolish not to do it.
Okay, I didn't know if there was any.
Yeah,
if
I
it
went
was
to
tied
him because
one vehicle or not.
No,
I mean, the
he
lease
didn't seem
or
to think so. I think it's just a matter, we just take the VIN number over every year, you know, whenever we trade it off. But he didn't seem to have a problem with doing it, because I visited with him the other day about it. So.
Is the city sales tax exempt
On sewer.
on this vehicle? Do we have to pay sales tax?
I would say that if we classify it as a sewer vehicle, we probably wouldn't. But I don't know. No, not sewer, street.
Well,
Street's the one that's non-taxable, isn't it?
Right, no, electric. Wait.
No.
No.
Electric is.
No,
taxable,
just-
yeah.
just-
Everything else.
Just street. Everything else is taxable. Yeah.
So you'd have to pay sales
We'll have to
tax
pay
on a
sales
new
tax,
vehicle every
yes.
year.
I would suppose you'd pay the difference. I really don't know. How would you do it?
Question for the
Not very many
dealership.
vehicles, but generally you pay it on the list price of the vehicle if you buy a new one out. Where you're trading, I would guess it would be on the difference. I haven't
I
traded.
think it would be on the
I haven't traded a vehicle.
Even
for
at that,
years.
it'd still be a pretty cheap trade. I mean, as far as that goes.
Depending on where they're pricing the new vehicle. Because you may not get the discount, so wherever you do, you need to put it under the department that you'll be sales tax exempt. What about property?
Well, we can't hardly designate everything as a street vehicle though. I mean, just.
Well, move another vehicle move your oldest vehicle to another department then.
I think that would be, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you, but I think that'd be tough.
I would find out if we're gonna get stuck on sales tax for sure, and what about property? Or do you have to pay property tax in city vehicles? Are they exempt? Well, it's about that time of year, so you should be getting your statement, so you should know whether you have to or not.
We haven't seen one yet,
So you probably don't have
I
to.
don't think so.
Part of our pickups run city tags and part of them run tax tags. If they're a revenue type vehicle, they have to be.
Electric department's gotta pay
They have to pay
property
the
tax.
tax, yes. Yeah, all my trucks do.
All the.
But now my little bucket truck has a city tag on it. My big bucket truck, both my big trucks have city tags. But I think we still have to pay, I still.
So
pay taxes.
wherever you put it is going to make a big difference perhaps on what your, other costs are.
I don't think the margin's near as clear as it used to be. I think you pay tax on most all of them. I think the only ones that we don't would be street stuff, and that's it.
Well, there's $3,000 in tax in
Yeah.
right there on that vehicle.
$2,300 a year. I mean, if you trade it every year, you're paying $2,300 for a brand new pickup.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can probably
Still,
go
I
on
would
there.
Still
find
not
out,
argument,
if you're
is it?
trading it every year, you might be able to pay sales tax on the difference, or,
Well, I'm sure that you're trading it in, so there's gotta be something there.
but if you go buy a new Chevrolet pickup today and they will charge you sales tax over at the county for the full list price of that vehicle, not what you paid for. Yeah, they'll charge you the full list price for sales tax. Last one I bought. And I had several discounts that I paid sales tax on.
I just bought a new, or a used vehicle. I paid sales tax,
On a used vehicle,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
different,
okay, it's different.
I'm talking on new.
You're talking about unused, okay. You're talking about brand new. Okay.
because, you know, like General Motors and everybody comes
Yeah.
out with these huge discounts at the end of the year. You pay sales tax on that
On the
discount.
full list price.
Okay.
Mhm.
No, they aren't.
So find out.
So what fund are you proposing this comes out of, Jeff?
Equipment reserve. I would have taken it out of the fund that pays that we were collecting the sales tax out of, but somebody told me we weren't supposed to do that.
I think it came out from
It's,
the auditors.
That would be right.
You know, so that way it'd come out of equipment reserve. There's 148 or 158,000 in that equipment reserve.
What,
So we'd take a fifth of it out a year,
There's how much in there?
148, I think.
Yeah, but we put, what did we transfer in there? What did we transfer in there this last week?
I had it.
You get that sheet still, Dakota? We just transferred in $52,000 this year in the equipment reserve. So there's $177,000 in there.
What's the reason for wanting to get the loan on that again?
There's
Not taking the cash out. They didn't want to take the cash out of the general fund. We'd rather just pay it a piece at a time and still get the same advantage on a 3% rate. I mean, we can borrow money cheaper than anybody in the country can. There's no need not to use that money and leave it in cash flow instead of taking it out that I can see.
What other pieces of equipment are you, I mean, what kind of shape is everything else in? The backhoe, the high loader, stuff stuff that we may have to purchase in the next year.
Backhoe's
You
good for
foresee
10 more
that's-
years, no more than we use it. If we were gonna buy a big piece of equipment, the next one out probably be the loader. But even at that, we could buy used off-lease vehicle or loaders, you know, for 30% of what a new one costs. I mean, we talked to the Berry guy the other day, but we're not looking at buying one. I mean, we use it for loading asphalt, we use it for moving snow. Other than that, you know, I mean, we really don't have anything other than pickups. The pickups are just wore out.
Well, I'm just curious.
I
Jeff.
mean, you know, if we needed something, it'd be a dump truck probably in the next few years. You know, we bought a used state dump truck a few years back. One of these days, that old GMC is going to have to go probably. But as far as big purchases, we don't. I mean, we take good care of them. We service them. You know, they're not new by any means, but they serve our purpose. So, but the pickups probably get used the hardest. I mean, we're just like you. We're in and out of them 20, 30, 40 times a day. I mean, on and off, stop and go. You know, and at 80 or 90,000 miles, the pickups are wore out. So turning and stopping and that. So, and this pickup's 17 years old. I mean, we bought it brand new in 2001, and it's just wore out.
I just don't know if the greatest idea is to get rid of the silver pickup. I almost would just leave it around and, you know, use it for.
Well,
We could keep
I'm
it
not
for-
saying
you know.
trading it in.
We don't have to. No, we
No,
weren't going to trade it in or even.
I'm
we,
talking about Purple Wave. I'm just talking about just keep it for.
We could put an old flatbed on it, use it for a park truck. I mean, you know, it stays in town. We don't take it out of town.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has a value of $1,500. Why keep it? I mean, why get rid of it? We'll keep it and wear it out.
Same.
Makes no difference. I mean, as far as a usable work pickup every day, it's in pretty rough shape. It really is.
Right.
But
Yeah, we certainly need to get something done about the pickups. I agree with that. These are these guys' tools all day long, and they need to have proper tools to do their jobs. And I think this is just the first case, and we're gonna come upon getting all departments taken care of.
I mean, we park them inside every day. We service them. We take care of them. I mean, they
Right.
don't set out.
Right.
They don't get beat up. But there comes a time when they're just wore out.
They run their cycle.
I mean, even if we're not driving some, the oil's checked every 3 weeks without even using it. Backhoe sits for a month, it's checked on the 3rd week. And that's the schedule that I'm on. Truck gets started, the oil's supposed to be checked. So I mean, we take pretty good care of them.
What
I
does
think we
council
could
think?
get a bumper for the front of that white pickup at some point.
We're going to,
I've
yeah.
got-
Dave was working on that, and then we got busy and we forgot about it.
He's supposed to be down here 2 weeks, I think. He's supposed to be bringing me one.
I think he
It's-
said for a couple $100 we could get one.
Yeah, I think it was $200.
So, yeah, it looks pretty rough. It really does.
I guess probably you need to figure out whether we gotta pay sales tax on it and all that. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily, if we can trade it off every year with minimal expense, I don't have a problem buying a new truck, but don't trade in the Dodge.
Okay.
That's just my opinion on it. But I don't know whether it's, you know, is it $34,000 or is it $37,000 that we need, or, I mean, I don't, with or without tax.
I'll have Dave check on it tomorrow.
I mean, I don't know what you
I
guys.
mean, we're gonna pay sales tax on it first time around, I'm pretty sure, without a doubt. Because it'll still be a revenue truck, any way you look at it. So, and the difference at the end of the year, you know, I don't know.
Well, I mean, because you'd asked for 35 financing it, so I guess the rest would just be paid out of pocket if it goes
Well,
over 35.
Yeah, I suppose we could. I mean, we could take it out.
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why we're gonna borrow money when they have it.
Well, I just didn't want to spend the cash down. That was my option. I just couldn't see taking it out, you know, after some of the expenses we had last year and some of that. I just didn't see poking the budget that way and taking 35, 36, 37,000 out when at 3%, we could pay it on a 5-year deal. That was my concern.
The
You
other
know.
thing about it is I mean, you make it through the first year and you roll over another 52,000, you pay it off the first of next year and you're done. If your budget's set up right.
Yeah, you can do that too.
I mean, cause there's no early payoff with any of them. But
So what, you think in 2 years?
well, you
Is that
could,
what you were saying?
We
You
start
could
at 5
finance-
and pay it off next year.
finance it this year and instead of going the full 5 years,
That's
pay it.
$1,000 extra dollars, 3%.
Well, it is.
But it's cash you can spend somewhere else too.
I don't agree with that.
I don't think,
just
I
pay
mean,
it
just
off.
like Orsi
If you wanna buy it
said,
outright, I'm fine with buying it outright.
I
don't
think
have a
so,
problem with
guys.
it.
I don't see a point in borrowing money. You got it.
I
I mean,
guess,
you
the thing
asked-
about it, if we get into a bind, the bank's willing to loan us money.
3%.
3%.
Well, I can't
Yeah.
borrow it at 3%, so.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
mean-
just think if we're sitting pretty good, then you know, I don't think there's gonna be any big expenses on our equipment
I mean,
reserve.
you asked
The
them
only,
that,
the only
right?
other expense that we thought we would have probably, and we were gonna discuss it later on in the year, was we need to do something with that south lift station, the one that's out at Cherry Lane, and, it'll be in the $25,000, $26,000, $27,000 range.
So that would probably, that wouldn't come out of the
No,
equipment
it would
reserve.
come out of the sewer, it'd come out of sewer utility, yeah,
So it'd come out of different capital outlets,
exactly,
so.
exactly. Those are really the only two, and if we did something at the swimming pool this spring, that was, those would be the 3 big expenses, because we know we've got some work to do up there too.
How many hours do you have on your loader, your grader, and those things?
We don't have very many on the tractor and on the loader or on the grader and the backhoe. We've got more on the loader. It's probably got 8,000 on it, maybe 8,200, but it's,
I just looked at it today too. I wanna say the loader has 8198.
that sounds about
That's
right.
That's not very many hours.
Yeah.
I can tell you what the grader was.
Grader's probably got half that many.
Four something.
Yeah.
Where's council at on this?
I would, I'll just make a motion to purchase a pickup as quoted, plus tax out of, equipment reserve, and keep the old pickup.
Make sure, and it's white to match the bed.
Are
We
we,
might paint the bed.
okay, and on
I
this,
just think
That's
that's only
fine.
right. I mean,
and on
Yeah,
this, are you
no, that's
figuring
fine.
out
Got more dollars.
trade program?
No, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess if we can trade it every year,
We can
let's
discuss it at the end of the year if you want to, how you wanna do it.
buy it outright, and I guess we'll go from there, but tell them we're interested in the trade program, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I
The
think it's
amount is,
necessary.
The number I've got's 34,424.36 plus tax.
okay, motion on the table to purchase the pickup out of the equipment reserve in the amount of 34,424.36 plus tax, with the possibility of doing the trade-in program.
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion?
Well, we got, something that I was wondering is, with, you guys are wanting the crew cab, I mean, when you say you want to put more, I just thinking we could save a little more money if we went to a regular cab, I mean, we've been getting along with the regular cab.
You aren't gonna find one.
Yeah, it seems like
I mean, you could think
regular
like-
cab is almost a thing of the past. It's,
So you think it'd be
I don't know,
worth the
you
money
may
to
be-
go
Get,
ahead?
get in my pickup and see what I got in my pickup, and you'll never get in a single cab pickup again.
And when these
Believe
guys,
me.
when these are guys are going out to the fall or to work, being
I
able
mean,
to
I
stuff a
got-
couple.
I don't think you'd
Coats,
save any money
Rubber
anyway.
gloves,
No.
I don't know,
books.
you say, I mean,
I don't
you may
know.
save a little bit, but I don't.
Well, I was just
I
throwing
think
it out there.
you said though he was looking at the resale value of it, if we traded it in every year was better having a
Yeah, yeah.
extended cab or 4-door pickup.
And we started with an extended cab, but he just felt like for the cost difference, we'd be better off with 4 full doors. There wasn't that much difference, I don't think, and that's the reason he quoted it that way.
And that's 2-wheel drive, right?
2-wheel drive, yes, it is. It's a 1-ton.
Right,
It's a single wheel 1-ton.
right.
So it'll take the weight of what we put in the bed, so.
Well, that was my question.
We have a motion
Do
and a
you
second.
not need 4-wheel drive at any time?
We clean our streets. We don't have much reason to have it, really. I have a 4-wheel drive pickup, I think I've kicked it in once.
That's just what.
Yeah, no, it's heavy enough, it'll get around pretty well.
Everything else we got steel drive.
Yeah, that's the only four-wheel drive pickup we got, some I drive.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0.
I think that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
We'll make it white, Ryan.
Keep it clean.
And I didn't know on the bed, you know, if
We didn't
you
know whether
went
they
to
painted
order
it
it
to match or.
you know, yeah, change the color or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just white
The
though.
only reason I said that is just so you don't have to paint a bed when you get
No,
it.
I
I
ain't
don't care
painting
what
it.
color it is.
No, we're not doing that number.
Make
If
it
it
look,
comes white, we like white. We don't care.
make it look prettier than Ryan's.
Yeah.
Ryan's work pickup.
We don't, we
And
don't
keep it as
mind
clean
a
as
bit.
his is. That's
It's
the
not a
understanding.
Cadillac, it's a work truck.
That's a little bit.
Thank you anyway.
Alrighty, John.
Alright, first thing I've got, I thought about putting together the new council members and the mayor a packet, like Coma and Cora, and then Jamie thought maybe you wanted to go to a meeting, so I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I told Jamie that I know in years past, a couple of the Stafford Council, St. John City Council got together, split the cost of having someone come out and present it to everybody.
I don't know.
I don't know
I've
if
sat
anybody
in-
recalls that.
Yeah, that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, and I think that
Stafford
was-
City Council and
Is
St.
that-
John got
is that-
together and had a.
Is that a
had class.
possibility of doing that?
Oh, I don't care, I think you need to go through some kind of training, but the other thing is that the League of Municipalities has a booklet.
Right.
I think they're $50. I don't know if you'd wanna buy one for the office or not, or for the new council. I don't know what you guys have done in the past, I think this is,
My thought on it was, you can get all these materials thrown at you, and then when you get the time and you actually sit down and do it, but we all know how time works. I figured it'd be a better idea if we got everybody together, had someone who presented us, no matter how boring they thought maybe it would be.
it's pretty boring.
I know, but I
I've
think.
sat through 2 or 3 of them, so
I
you don't
think,
tell me.
I think I think it'd be a good idea, just to have somebody come out and provide that training to us, if that's a possibility. I think everybody needs it. I think it shows the community that you're invested in your position and you're informed. It's one of my biggest things that I hope to achieve is build that relationship between all departments and council and everybody, so. What's the matter with you?
Nothing, no.
So, what do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea. We could use the training. And it's good education for everybody.
Well, I think it's necessary. No matter how many times you've been through it, I mean, I think you can always, you can read the same book 50 times and pick up something new in it, so, I don't know, what do you guys think? Have somebody come out and present it to us, that could be a possibility on a council night, plan a workshop, purchase the booklet, and let everybody go at their discretion.
Let's see what you can find out first.
You're probably not gonna get anybody till, what's this?
March or April.
March, yeah, it's a legislative session, but.
There's surely a booklet, and I can read a hell of a lot faster than I can listen. And I'm tired of listening.
You're just too patient.
Well, at one point, somebody did come out. So like, I think Mark would have been the only one here.
I think I'm the only one in council that attended that.
It was just before I got on.
You're
I
right.
think that was at the order of the county attorney.
Yeah, it was just before, filing for, when I filed to run.
Right.
Yeah, the
It's
whole
no secret
council.
that we got into, the council at that time had gotten into a little bit of trouble, and that's why we had to go.
I don't know. how much
So
that
to avoid any of that again, I think that this training should be done again.
I'd say look into it and see what you get.
The only other thing I have is the resolution from the last council meeting regarding the structures.
And that was just basically including everything but the exclusion of.
Yeah, a
ones
little
on
bit
West
about,
Second.
you know, it goes through the process of, she, I forget, what's her name, Deborah, our health officer.
Doors.
Shannon.
Doors.
Shannon.
Doors.
Snap
It was
Shannon.
Doris
Shannon.
that did it, I think, though.
It was Doris that did it this time.
Yes,
She's still
Doris
working.
did.
It talks about how nobody
Right.
who owns or interest owner of the property showed up. It sets the time for them to commence repairs, and then I even added a little something in there in case they actually read it, which says that they're encouraged to visit with city staff about the condition of their property.
Now, do we have to give them clear to the 20th of March?
That was the 60 days, wasn't it?
I don't know.
That was what was decided last time at the meeting.
That'd be 60 days, wouldn't it?
I think
That was January 2nd.
But it was 60 days from adoption, I think, isn't
Yeah,
it,
it's
right?
60 days for adoption of this. I think that's the next council member in the meeting.
No, so 60 days from tonight.
Today.
Plus, give or take, whatever. Next council.
Flexibility, Marshall, just a little bit.
What's that council
Can
meeting?
we do this in 30 days?
27.
I mean, do you have to give them 60?
There is no hard and fast rule. There just isn't. I'll say that some of them have started work on their properties, so.
But they've had
And
60 or 90 days already.
and some of them will see it as a deadline, more or less.
60 or 90 days plus 60.
It's up to you. I mean, we can,
I'd say whatever we said is what we need to stick to at the last meeting, or whatever they said at that meeting.
do 60 days.
However it can go the fastest, let's do that.
I think that's what he told us was the fastest,
Yeah,
was
I
60
know,
days.
that's what I'm saying.
I just didn't, I was thinking 60 days ought to be quicker than March 20th. But
Right.
I would make a motion to pass resolution number 2018-02.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0.
Last thing is I have to attend an out-of-state conference, and we'll be gone that first week in February. So if I have anything, I'll get it to Jamie, but it's unrelated.
Free for the city? So you're saying we're not getting charged for it?
You're not getting charged for it.
Good. You can go. I'll let you attend.
Okay. And there's no old business. Moving into the new business.
The resolution for GAP is what we do every year, I'm assuming.
It's just for the audit, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
I'm assuming you,
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure I even read that.
you want to?
If the treasurer says it's necessary.
I believe that, I think we do that every year.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, whereas they're in order. You don't have anything requiring you guys to do it, so let's just let do it.
Do it what?
Following 75-11-28A.
So you're saying we don't have to?
No, I'm
approve
saying
that?
you can go ahead and pass this. You don't have any kind of outstanding obligations that would require you to do it.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-01.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, no executive sessions on the books.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Thanks, guys.